I'm dividing up the china and the furnishings of the home. And, those are tasks that they couldn't come to an agreement on their own, but it's not something that a judge or an attorney wants to handle or really has time to handle. But I actually go out to the home, so it's not something that's done in the court.
Welcome to the Starting Over Stronger show, where you'll find help and hope for your divorce survival and recovery. Divorce well, live well.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again at the Starting Over Stronger show. Today, we're going to talk about changing the locks or changing the process, how special masters help to divide the stuff during divorce. One of the most prevailing struggles of people facing divorce is, of course, the division of the stuff. Ask 100 different people how they handled this task during their divorce, and you'll probably get 100 different answers. And I bet only a very few will have engaged a special master. And so I wanted to bring a special master on the show today to introduce you to the concept, to someone who's actually doing the work, and just to talk about what it looks like to have a special master involved in your divorce. So welcome to the show, Denise.
Hi, thank you very much for having me today.
Yeah. And Denise is a retired sheriff's deputy and special master. Is that right, Denise?
And that is correct.
Tell us a little bit about you, how you got to where you are now, what you love to do.
So, yes, I am retired from the sheriff's department after 30 years of service there. And honestly, how I got into being a special master was a civil judge that is now retired, but he contacted me and wanted to see if I would be interested in doing this because there is a need in the courts. The courts are so backed up with divorce cases, and most of it is because they can't come to agreements. And when you can't come to an agreement, you just keep pushing off the court dates. Yeah. And it's just a backlog. So he talked to me about it, and I read through some guidelines for the state, and so here I am. And now that's what I do.
Okay. Well, we'll get into exactly what that looks like here. But, like divorce coaches, I think most people don't know that special masters exist or the value that they can bring to the situation. So that's really what I want to bring to light today. So tell us, first of all, what is a special master? So
a special master is, I'm going to call it basically a manager over the divorce process on the backside. So dividing of the property, removal of any property, if there's things that need to be sold, if there hasn't been any agreements between the parties, special master can oversee that, facilitate it, whatever necessary. And then, of course, we have to report back to the courts that, X, Y, and Z has been handled. And then the parties can go back and finalize everything else.
Okay.
So, and a lot of times those tasks that are being done, you're going into a home and I'm dividing up the china and the furnishings of the home. And, those are tasks that they couldn't come to an agreement on their own, but it's not something that a judge or an attorney wants to handle or really has time to handle. But I actually go out to the home, so it's not something that's done in the court.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what kind of a professional background do most special masters have, or I guess even just do you have?
Well, I would say my professional background is I worked in civil law at the sheriff's office for, probably 15 years of my career. So when I was doing that, I dealt with divorce and serving of protection orders and divorce papers and removal of people and that sort of thing at that point. Mm-hmm. So it kind of gives me a lot of knowledge and background on how these cases go.
Yeah.
And what, some of the things that can happen during those times. Now, I will say most special masters to date, anyway, have usually been attorneys. They would do it, I guess, kind of on the side.
Oh, okay.
And, unfortunately, you can't afford $400 an hour to pay an attorney to come in and divide your furniture. I mean, most of the time, you're going to pay the attorney more than your stuff's worth, so it's
Yeah.
that's where I came in. And because there was such a need, at least I am affordable for people to utilize me. And now I will say that I'm court ordered most of the time, but they're not paying me $400 an hour to do these tasks.
Right. Okay. Very good. So who do you think benefits the most from a special master?
I would say that, contrary to popular belief, because at the time that they're going through the process, I would say the parties are benefiting the most from it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, they don't feel that way. Most of them don't anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult, and it's, emotional for everybody involved. And I come in and I don't have those emotions. I don't have I'm not attached to any of it. And I work for both of them. So I'm not on one side or the other. I'm the neutral party that can kind of see through the clouds and make stuff happen. And it's not easy, but I hope that, or I have had some people contact me later after everything was done, and they did see the benefit and appreciated what had been done. They just didn't appreciate it at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. Well, especially if you've got, chronically conflicted, a couple that's, high conflict,
Yes.
I'm sure that. So do you ever have situations where it becomes like a safety issue for you? There's enough anger that there's a need for you to protect yourself?
I have had a few times that I was concerned for that. Luckily, I knew ahead of time that there was this possibility. So I would either have a second party with me instead of going alone, or I have had uniform officer come and, at least at the beginning, make sure everything's going to go smoothly and we're not going to have any outbursts and, that sort of thing. So, but that's only happened a couple of times. Someone had some very major anger issues.
Yeah, right. And one of the other categories of people that I thought might be utilizing a special master or being ordered one would be where one or both of the parents have significant psychopathology, which of course would maybe be the kind of scenarios that you were just describing.
Yes, definitely, for sure.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Denise Baker, Special Master, helping you divide the stuff during your divorce. You can reach Denise at 913-208-4263. Have you had situations where children with either special needs or just like very young, like infants and toddlers, where there was concern for their development, that they ordered you to be involved because of that?
Not necessarily in that regard. Where they hire me more for the kids is taking a look at the kids' property. So a lot of times the parents, they want to go in and they just want to split up everything, and somebody's taking half of the child's things out of their space and that sort of thing. And I go in and I go, okay, hold on. we need to look at this a little better. And it really depends on the age of the child as to how that can be done. Obviously if you have I'll probably say a 6, 7 to, teenage, they should probably have a little say-so in what's happening in their life, because they didn't choose this.
Yeah.
And it's not fair for mom and dad to pick and choose what items they want to take to whichever home it's going to be. Yeah. And, that's their safe place at this point. Their bedroom mostly is their safe place because it's still together and it hasn't changed in there. Maybe some of the things in the living room and in the playroom and all of that has changed, but their bedroom usually is the safe zone. So
Yeah.
I try to be very careful with how we do that. So that's more of the side that they would have me dealing with the children.
Yeah. And, that makes a really great point because, that is like they're losing control of their whole lives. And that's like the one thing that maybe they feel like they have some control over: their clothes, their bed, their belongings. Is it pretty common that people are just so caught up as parties in a divorce and with their situation that they're not seeing how their children are being affected? Or is it are people aware and they just don't know how to handle it?
I think it's probably a mixture, 50-50 with that. They can, a lot of times they know that their child's going through a hard time, but they don't really know how to handle that because many of them may not have ever been divorced before or been divorced and had children,
Right.
in the process.
Yeah.
So I've had very good response when I discuss these things with the parents and say, listen, I know that you want to do this way, but let's think about this for just a second. And I have my personal experiences as well because I come from a divorced family. So I was that child during the divorce. So I use that as well. And I let them know kind of how I felt and, went through. And then I'm kind of from the era where there was a lot of my friends, their parents were divorced as well. So I bring that to the table as well. And I've had great responses from the parents and appreciated. And most of them listened to what I had to say and would take my suggestions.
Very good. Very good. Well, that's awesome. So I don't know if you would even know this statistic, but I'm wondering how many divorce cases require a special master. Is it pretty rare?
I would say it's not as rare now, definitely now. The judges are seeing that there's just such a need for it in many of the cases. I really don't know what the statistics are, but, in order to keep things on track and keep things moving, they are now seeing that this really does help. And the special master can hold the individual's feet to the fire, if you will, to get things done and put timelines in place and, that sort of thing.
And you said you usually get ordered by a judge. Do you always get ordered by the judge, or can people choose to engage, one party or the other?
Yes, I don't always get ordered by the judge. I have been, recommended just by attorneys and things like that. And I'm fine dealing with the individuals without the court order, as long as the attorneys are involved as well. I mean, they need to know kind of, what's going on, and I need to know what needs to be done,
right,
according to the case.
Right.
So.
Okay. And when you're ordered or engaged, however you are, what does it look like? Is there a certain timeline that's pretty standard? And what does it actually look like when you show up at the house? How do you navigate all that?
Well, on the front side, I try to get, whether it's lists from each person as to what they want. Sometimes, somebody just wants to get, say, their tools or their camping equipment and, maybe just their personal stuff, and they don't care about the rest. They just go on down the road, or they've already taken quite a bit of it and they just want to finish getting their stuff, and that's it. But I want to get that in writing as to what they're picking up, and everybody's in agreement, and then we schedule a time. Now, other times I have to go in and we just do a alternate selection because they want to split everything for the most part 50-50. And when I use 50-50, I don't mean equal, like everything's not equal in amount. So,
right.
This is worth $10 and that's worth 100. Now I try to be equitable is what we call it, not equal.
Right.
So we do alternate selection and get it done. At least that way, each person gets some things that they really wanted. And otherwise, if I just walk in and go, okay, well, you're going to get that and you're going to get that. And they're like, but I don't want that. So,
yeah, that doesn't make a
anyway.
lot of sense. Yeah. Well, so what if I know you said alternate selection, so I might have you describe that a little bit better. But what I'm thinking is, what if there's just this one item and they both are just like not giving? How do you even deal with that?
Well, I carry a deck of cards with me, and I also carry dice.
Okay.
So if we get down to the end and they just will not agree or somebody's not given, okay, pick a card or roll the dice. And then I say, whichever one gets the highest or lowest, that's the one that gets it. Okay. And that's the end of it. So, and a lot of times when I do that, they at least chuckle, and it's kind of a, emotional release a little bit, that they can step back and they're like, oh, I guess this is what it's coming to, and
tension breaker.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So, other than what we've already talked about, let's just talk about some of the advantages of using a special master compared to going it alone.
I would say that using a special master, if you are in a divorce that it's very contentious, and it's very difficult for the two of you to communicate, you definitely would benefit from having a special master to keep things moving along and not drag them out for. I've actually had cases that they had been going on for 3 years before I came in. And, that's not healthy for anybody to do that, regardless of what they're wanting to do. It's just not healthy to be in that limbo. So in that regard, I think they're going to benefit the most from having a special master come in. And like I said before, keeping a timeline and a schedule, set schedule, so that, okay, we have to have this done by this day and we have to have this by this date. And that way they can move on and move forward and get things completed.
Yeah. So it speeds things up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, this is Annie. I wanted to stop for just a moment and ask you what you're doing, besides listening to this podcast, to take care of yourself during your divorce. After all, if you don't, who will? There are several ways you can join Starting Over Stronger as you heal through divorce. First of all, very exciting news. We just launched the brand new startingoverstronger.com website. Come check it out and become a member so you can stay up to date on all the latest opportunities for support. If you haven't yet, you're also welcome to join our private Starting Over Stronger After Divorce group on Facebook. Denise recently joined there and shared that her divorce is a minute-by-minute struggle at times. And Gretchen also joined us recently as she faces a difficult separation situation and has all kinds of questions about what to do to protect herself. And of course, the more of you that join this group, the more answers you all can get from each other. And of course, I chip in there too. Now, the best spot for answers is in private or group coaching, where we can talk specifically about the exact issues that you're facing in a private format. So you'll also find out more about those on the new website. I watch for you to join both the new website platform and the Facebook group. Remember, the website is just startingoverstronger.com, but the private Facebook group is Starting Over Stronger After Divorce. And you will have to answer some questions there, and we make very sure that anybody that joins is someone that belongs. So I hope to see you all there soon. I would love to meet more of my listeners and get to know each of you and the situations that you're facing. So I hope to see you there soon. Would there be any disadvantages or anybody that you would think would maybe not be a good candidate for utilizing a special master?
I guess not being a good candidate would be, the ones that can figure it out on their own. True. They definitely don't need to, there's no reason to hire somebody else to come in if it's not necessary. So, and in those cases, I don't have those cases. I just get assigned those cases, and people don't usually ask me to be involved in that. So all of the ones I get are bad.
Yeah. They need you.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, are you the only one in Kansas City doing this? How many special masters would you estimate there are in any given metro area? Is it?
Well, as far as the metro, I'm not sure, but I do know that in Johnson County right now, as far as I know, I'm the only one that's doing it.
Okay.
Like I said, there were some attorneys that kind of did it on the side, but I don't know. I haven't heard of them doing that anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, right now it's me.
Okay. Well, and of course, people are listening from all over the country and even across the pond, as they say.
Yes. Yes.
So who knows how they handle it, in these other areas, but I think it's still good for people to know that this service exists, because then they can begin to do research and find somebody, hopefully, that could fill this role for them, even if they're not named a special master. Maybe there's someone that kind of can serve in that way.
Sure. Most definitely. It would be very beneficial for other areas to have, whether they call them a property coordinator or whatever they want to call them.
Right.
To have those people available to assist in these cases.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of any specific problems that you're helping people avoid? I mean, other than obviously dragging the case out or, arguing and damaging the kids by, holding in their corners over certain things. Anything else that you can think of that would be a problem that you're helping people to avoid?
I would say that avoiding the any more damage, to the relationship itself. I understand that, there's a reason they're getting divorced. They can't be together any longer. However, if you do have kids, you're going to deal with this individual for the rest of your life. I mean, it's just what it is. So just trying to get them to see it's just not worth, the name calling and the bashing and that sort of thing. Yeah. I guess that's about it.
That's really an excellent point, though, because, there's obviously, like you said, there's already damage to the relationship or they wouldn't be going through a divorce. But, how much more damage will be done if they just, sit in their corners and refuse to budge or, give. And it just makes a lot of sense to have a neutral third party come in and help them to work through that, because it really isn't probably as difficult as it seems to either of them, at that time. It feels like a much bigger deal to them, I'm sure, than it really is. But yeah, so that's a really great point. It's really helping people to avoid any further damage to the relationship, and not only to their relationship with each other, but for each of them with their kids, because who knows, the stories that they may be seeing played out in front of them or hearing from one or the other parent, and could carry, resentment for being drugged through it, or whatever. So that's a really good point.
Most definitely.
Okay. So, paraphrasing a recent client experience of yours, who's a mutual acquaintance of mine, she said, having a special master really helped us. Instead of conflicts dragging on, we got decisions made promptly. Even though I haven't agreed with every decision, it's much better than the alternative of the ongoing disagreements over these inconsequential items. So I thought that was something worth mentioning. I think that probably is the overall feeling that people have when it's all said and done. Like you said at the beginning, they may not like you during the process, but you're getting it done and they'll thank you later.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go.
I would say the same.
Well, is there anything else you wish more people knew about the process of engaging a special master?
I think that I would like for them to know that a special master is there to help them and to work for them because everybody has the common goal at hand. And everybody's working towards that common goal. Hopefully the special master is keeping that on task and getting it moved forward so they can move on with their lives. The other thing is there's the question of safety for each one. If there is an issue in the relationship of safety with anger issues and things like that, with the law enforcement background, I usually can, navigate through some of that. and keep everybody calm and separate rooms if we need to, or we don't go to the property at the same time. Hopefully the individuals will trust me in their home to take the other one through without them being there, so that there's no conflicts and the police don't have to come in and nobody gets arrested and, all of those things.
Very good. Well, that's really all I have. I think this is one of those topics that, you can look at it from every different angle, and it's really pretty short and sweet. If you have conflict over the stuff, hire a special master because it will just, it's just that simple. It really is.
Yes.
And so thank you for being here today to enlighten us on this very simple task that people can engage to improve on their situation and their divorce, and to maybe hopefully remedy some of the tension anyway. So I appreciate your expertise and your wisdom on this.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed, and hopefully it will benefit some more people out there.
I'm sure it will. And listeners, thank you for joining us today. We had a little bit of a short episode here today, but sometimes, like I said, some things are just not that complicated. So if you are listening today and you have issues over who's going to get what in the divorce, now you have an option that is really going to help to make that a little bit less stressful for you and for your soon-to-be ex. So thank you for tuning in and listening to us today on this topic. And if you have any other questions about it, reach out, Annie@startingoverstronger.com. I would love to make a personal introduction for you to Denise and talk with you more about what it looks like to work with a divorce coach or a special master for your divorce. And we'll see you again next week for more help as you divorce and hope as you are starting over stronger.